back. Thought you'd be there. We've got a packed virtual studio for part two. Gordon Watson is still there over in Costa Rica. James Mason up in West Yorkshire, the boss of Welcome to Yorkshire, looking for a revival of the county's tourism fortunes, along with all our fortunes in life at the moment. He's an optimistic, permanently optimistic guy, and he will find some further optimism on the football field in part two, talking about Sheffield United. And James Gregg, who it's no secret is a bit partial to the Blades, he joins us as well. Has a busy roundup. There's some good news on the cricket front, I believe, a bit later. Just before we get into Sheffield United, we were talking in the break, James Mason, about innovative things that you might be able to do that lift all our spirits and provide a possible opportunity linking in with where Gordon is at the moment.
Yeah, Welcome to Yorkshire has been well known in the past sort of 5-10 years of sort of pushing the boundaries of what's possible and what we can bring to Yorkshire. And that started in 2014 with the Tour de France. You know, let's be honest, one of the world's biggest sporting spectacles, one of the biggest mass participation events in the world, certainly from a spectator point of view. Who'd have thought little old Yorkshire could bring that to our streets and towns and villages? It did. And I suppose the next big thing that we're looking for now is something to complement that. We want to keep the cycle race, but also add to it. And yeah, Gordon and I know each other from Bradford City, but actually we've become kindred spirits over the last few months, if not years, because I've spent the last couple of years working with American sports, sending international students from the UK, Europe and further afield out to the States to play college football, or soccer as they call it, rugby, which is huge, swimming, athletics. But Gordon can tell you a bit more about this than I, because his two children have been or are going to American college. It's massive. Now, if we talk about the big sports brands in the UK, like Manchester United, Chelsea, with stadiums of 50, 60, 70,000 people and followers of millions across the world. I'm looking at James Gregg's top there, Baltimore top. You talk about Michigan State or Penn State, you might see 135,000 people watching an American football game, all of which are paying $20, $30 to watch the game. They're buying the hoodies, they're buying the Budweiser, they're buying the popcorn, but yet the kids aren't getting paid. It's huge business. And one of our long-term plans here at Welcome to Yorkshire is to bring, gridiron, to bring baseball to Yorkshire, whether that's at Headingley, play on the cricket field. Okay, I've got to speak to Mark Arthur about that, or Gary Hetherington at the rugby side of it, but Bramall Lane, or some of the stadiums that have got big end zones. I think about Hull, I think about Huddersfield. We've got a massive audience, and Gordon can confirm that, and James probably can. A huge audience for American sports. So why can't we think big and bring them over in the next few years?
Gordon, you know both areas. You know over there, you know over here. Do you think it would work?
The thing that comes to mind straight away is, if you're talking about the NFL coming to Yorkshire, would be the size and capacity of the stadium that's going to host it, because they have already guaranteed 80,000 if they go to Wembley, if they go to Twickenham. And yeah, I'm racking my brain and thinking, well, what's the biggest stadia that we could hold in Yorkshire? I think that we can definitely get some kind of American sport there. But I mean, the NFL, England's a crutch for the NFL, for them teams that don't sell out. So it might be you get the Jacksonville Jags or someone else that would settle for a 35 or 40,000 in a stadium. That would be a big task. And James, you'd earn your money if you get that gig.
Yeah, and I think Gordon mentioned infrastructure is an issue, size of stadium, because there's lots of players. Normally you get 60 to 80, if not 200 people can be part of an American football team, the scientists. And so that's a big issue. But listen, where there's a will, there's a way. There's probably a way to, and as you mentioned, it might not be the top teams to start with. College sports probably could come over, so if it's 25,000, 30,000, try it as a test bed. It's a journey, but it'd be interesting to know what James thinks, because I think James has got a perspective on world sport as well.
Is there an appetite for your generation, James? Yeah, your generation, would it support it?
I think it would, and I think it's something that's becoming more and more. There's more and more of an appetite for it as you kind of go through. Because I mean, it wasn't something I was particularly aware of. My sort of general view on it beforehand was, particularly living in Leeds, I was thinking, well, we've got a rugby league team, and there's a great football team, and then we've got what we want. But actually, there is a big appetite for it. The more people you speak to, they pick and choose their own teams over there. It might be somewhere that they visited once on a school trip or on holiday, But a lot of the time, it's kind of, I quite like that team. It's a bit like what the Americans do with our Premier League sides, isn't it? What they do is they go, I like them and I like that particular player, so I'm going to support them. And then next thing, they're nailing the colours to the mast, and that's it. They support them forever, and they become a little bit obsessed with it. People like, friend of the programme and known well sort of in these parts, Alan, is Rob Staten. And Rob has been ahead of the curve for some time. He supports the Seattle Seahawks, and he writes a blog on sort of their draft trials and tribulations, and that has a massive following. And a lot of those people are based here in the UK, so there is a big appetite for it. And it's not something that I've seen firsthand, but I've got no reason to think why it wouldn't, because there's so many people into it. They sell out Tottenham Hotspur's ground instantly for the NFL games. Wembley as well, it's been successful. The NFL show is which is shown sort of on terrestrial TV over here. I think anything that's shown on terrestrial TV, whether it be highlights or live, people are obsessed with it, and people have been obsessed watching Chappers and OC and Jason, and that's really sort of made me interested in it. So I think there is a hunger for it, and it'd be great if it came to Yorkshire. So come on, James.
And just Alan, just the last point on that. So critics will say American football, James, wasting your time. It's too big a sport. Not interested in the twee little UK, and the grounds are too small. Think college basketball at the Sheffield Arena. Think the Sheffield Steelers. Ice hockey. College teams have got basketball teams and ice hockey teams that are bigger than anything that we've ever seen in Europe. So they bring the razzmatazz. They bring that. So if we talk about our love of cricket and the whole day experience, the tailgating, the merchandising, the whole razzmatazz, forget it. It's coming. It's coming. We're doing it.
Well, great. Well, you heard it first on this programme. We're all sold on it. Baseball and NFL or American football coming to Yorkshire near you soon. Let's talk about football, though, our football, and the way it can affect all of our lives, and for the better. When a team does well, it lifts everybody's spirits, those who support it, and the city where they're based. And we're going to talk about Sheffield United now. And what you feel, and I know you know Chris Wilder well, as we do, and he was on this show a couple of weeks ago. He's done a wonderful, wonderful job, which we can all appreciate, from a privileged position, fairly close up to him. What can that do for you and Yorkshire, James Mason?
We've all got to put our allegiances to one side for a second and have a look at what Premier League football in Huddersfield has done for their local economy. What it can do, what it did do in Hull. Let's go back a few more years. What it could do for Leeds as a major city without a Premier League team in the last few years, and what it has done for Sheffield. And I was speaking, to the guys at Bramall Lane just a few weeks ago about, how actually Sheffield United now is on the world map, but yet not necessarily well known in London still. Believe it or not, there's people in London that don't know Sheffield has a Premier League team, but yet there'll be people in Costa Rica that do. So my point being is that, the Premier League is such a global brand that, businesses can thrive on the back of it. It gives confidence to retailers to open a new bar or a shop or a restaurant, because you've got 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 fans coming from London to watch Chelsea or Spurs. There's never an away ticket spare in the Premier League, or there shouldn't be. And it enables us as a tourism agency to sort of inherit an audience for a weekend. So if you're coming up from London to Sheffield, our job is to go, right, you're coming to watch the football at 3:00 on a Saturday afternoon. Can we get you to come on a Friday night to maybe enjoy some of the, real Yorkshire ales on Kelham Island, or to stay for the theatre with the family on a Saturday night, or to go to the Yorkshire Wildlife Park or Cannon Hall Farm on a Sunday? So our job is to go, this is why they're coming, that one reason, and it's football. It might be a group of men, it might be mother and father and kids, it might be a group of women coming up for a hen weekend. Our job's to go, right, that's why you're coming. Can we tell you about other things to do while you're here? The flip side of it is Sheffield is taking a Yorkshire brand to 4 corners of the world that I can't reach quickly. And we can't afford to either. So, we've got to look at creative ways to partner up with them. So Sheffield in the Premier League, Leeds getting in the Premier League. And I know I'm saying that as a Bradford fan, but I've got to say it too. Hull City, Middlesbrough even, Sheffield Wednesday. We need these Yorkshire teams to be really, really strong. And Gordon will probably emphasise that better. There'll be someone in Costa Rica now with a Sheffield United shirt on. Unheard of a couple of years ago, because they'll pick that team and they'll love what they're doing.
Yeah. Is there, Gordon?
Don't be silly.
I'm sending you one.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. You'll send it today, and I'll get it in 2022 because there's no postal service here, especially if it's got a red and white shirt in it.
I imagine yeah, and there'll be a few blue and white shirts over there, I should think.
Yeah, there's a couple of them I've seen them down the market.
Yeah.
No, they're all Barcelona, Real Madrid. They're all Spanish, really. I've not seen an English shirt yet.
Carry on dreaming, James Mason. You'll get there in the end, and James Gregg. Yeah. The thing is, well, all of those dreams, though, depend on getting spectators back in the grounds. You know, we're getting footballers back on the pitch as of next week. Sheffield United, actually, the very first game back in the Premier League at Aston Villa. But we need footballers fans, isn't it, Gordon? Football's fans. It's nothing.
No, it is, and a big thing for us over here and Central America, South America, they love their Premier League, and James is right. The global brand, everyone loves to watch the sport, and it's a different sport because you've got so many of these teams. And we talk about Aston Villa. Aston Villa's chances of staying up will depend on them playing at home in front of a crowd. I mean, we've already had a look at the Bundesliga. The Bundesliga, I think it's 49%, 51%, 51% of the teams winning away. The away side has been winning the games because they're not getting barracked, they're not playing in front of hostile crowds. And probably the worst thing for Aston Villa is actually that they're going to play Sheffield United, who don't care if they play home or away.
Yeah, that's a great point. Will it affect Sheffield United, though? The fact that they've built this intensity up, this great rhythm, wonderful backing at Bramall Lane from crowds, is it going to affect them as much as other clubs? Or you suggest Aston Villa there, that they're not going to have a home audience behind them?
No, no. I mean, all the games I've watched in the Bundesliga, those sides that have an intensity, have an urgency, have a togetherness, they are winning. They are winning games. So I would say that this will play more into Sheffield United's hands because there seems to be no weak link in their chain. So for me, I'm looking at other sides who are reliant on playing at home. I mean, a lot of these sides, they didn't want. Let's not like beat around the bush. These sides near the relegation, they didn't want the league to come back. They wanted it void because they now know that their home advantage has gone out the window. So we're going to see a lot of strange results and a lot of away sides winning for me.
Yeah, James Mason, with your football hat on, and you covered plenty of it, do you agree with Gordon there that actually this situation could, although they wouldn't have picked it, help Sheffield United in their ambitions?
Yes, I do. I think Chris and his team's approach will be consistent. You know, they'll probably carry on where they left off, or that will be the mentality. You know, forget the fact the crowds won't be there. Forget that there's a European place up for grabs. Just continue what got us into this position. Cliched, but listen, that's exactly how they should approach it. I think it's been interesting in the leagues that I sort of languish in, League Two and League One, whereby everyone sort of begrudgingly accepted that there has to be a way forward, and where teams have finished, they've finished. So congratulations to Rotherham, by the way, while we're on.
Yeah.
But I do think there's going to be winners and losers, and it will come back. It will come down to attitude. So I do, you know, Flash speaks sense. He's been there as a player, now there as a pundit. There'll be teams that will just rise above all the negativity, all the challenges, and just plough on. Interestingly enough, I saw Everton's statement last night. You know, Everton's statement about how they're going to reinvest some of the savings that they've made, that players have taken across the board, back into the community. And that's a really powerful play. I think they're doing it, of course, with all the right intentions, but off the field, sort of coming together with players and fans can kickstart them and almost give them 3 to 6 points to start this mini season as they go. And you know, that's what you need. It's a proper knockout competition now, isn't it, really? For some clubs, it's do or die.
Yeah, echoing your congratulations to Rotherham and that wonderful man, Paul Warne. Great to see him back in the Championship next season. Not only if you know him, Gordon, but he is just a fantastic human being. He really is. And just warms the cockles of your heart just to chat to him. Talking about cockles of your heart, you've got a lot of feeling for Bradford City, as James Mason has, and as we all have who've been to Valley Parade over the years. You at one time were their record signing, I think, £500,000 from Southampton in 1997. How much does it pain you to see where the Bantams are languishing today?
Again, it's mismanagement for me. I think it all started when someone who thought that they were qualified for the job came in, and they played at it. I mean, it was nothing short of a joke. I mean, we can go back further, and we've had so many different football clubs that have done this, that they get above their station and they try and grow too quick, and it comes down to recruitment. James mentioned it earlier. I think the number one position in a football club is recruitment. Now, the big thing with Bradford City, they're a big club. They have a lot of fans. So they're not looking and really worrying about how much money is going to be coming in, because at that level, if it's invested wisely, then they should have been competing a lot better. They had great times under Parky. I went to Wembley. I know they got absolutely smashed, but that run, that was great. It's a big football club, and it's the only way is up now. I think that they now have got a chance to start steadily coming up again.
Yeah, when you talked about mismanagement at Bradford, I thought initially there you were going to refer to James Mason.
No, I think
Chief Executive.
His back, didn't you, James? If you, it was a tough time, wasn't it?
Yeah, listen, we were just building on everything that Phil Parkinson had done, and I had a couple of years there with him. The club was in good nick, really good nick, when Julian Rhodes and Mark sold out to two German investors, one of which is still there, and actually the club owe him some credit that he stuck around and helped finance the club. But the other chairman at the time, as Gordon knows, wanted to, write the theme tune, sing the theme tune, that style, be in the dressing room, be the head of recruitment, be the chairman, be the commercial director, be the PR director, and from real solid foundations of having 20,000 near enough season ticket holders, we're now languishing in League Two, and actually the club, the people that are there now are good people again. Ryan running the comms, Stuart McCall back, but laden with lots of legacy debt of players they necessarily didn't want. So again, Bradford are a good example of a team that have been able to, clear the decks and start again. Gordon referred to them being a big club. Yeah, big city, big club, one of many in Yorkshire. It's going to be tough for them. So they've got to lean on the fact that they've got that big brand now. They won't be able to pay the big wages, but no one in League Two will be able to. So in that respect, the right people in the right positions will get them back where they want to be. And I'm hoping that they do. Gordon, by the way, every penny that we spent on Gordon was money well spent, by the way.
You're a politician, you, James.
Just 450 grand too much. That's all.
Yeah, I thought I was cheap at double the price, to be honest.
You pay for a mansion and you get a bungalow. Isn't that what Gordon said? Sorry, Gordon. No, I mean, obviously, you referred earlier, James referred to it, that shocking injury that you suffered, the double fracture of the leg, and it went to court, of course, and you ended up with substantial damages for that, but that clearly curtailed your career, realistically, didn't it? But, yeah, absolutely. We're going to come to James Gregg shortly. There was something in my head that I was going to ask. Oh yeah, Stuart McCall, just before we go to James Gregg's roundup, having Stuart McCall back there, what a mistake, by the way, to get rid of him in the first place. That's got to be important, guys.
Gordon can answer. Gordon, you answer this one, because I remember what you said at the time.
Yeah, listen, he's an absolute leader. I mean, and the thing is, people need someone to look up to, and they lead by example. When you've got someone like him who's played for his country, he's played for Rangers, he was part of the old Bradford, he was part of the new Bradford, who then obviously got promoted to the Premier League. He was someone who's going to help you bring on youngsters. He's also going to be a face of the football club, give you an identity. He's also someone that's loved. And when you're loved in a football club, when things are not going quite right, they give you that cushion. And where that cushion is probably all some managers actually need to go and get it right, and you've got to go on. There's too many trigger-happy chairmen. Now all of a sudden you've got someone where the gun's not going to be fired at Stuart McCall too quickly this time, because they thought the grass was greener. And they soon found out that when they looked at their grass, it was full of weeds.
Yeah, and Scunthorpe United are going to regret having Stuart McCall among the many managers that they've sacked as well, in my opinion. We're going to come back with Gordon on his recollections of Sheffield Wednesday, just to close the show, after we've heard very busy for a change roundup from James Gregg. I mean, there have been weeks, James, where you've had nothing to say, really. You've got
Correct. There's loads to say now. I mean, unless you've been living under a rock and you're a sports fan in Sheffield, you will know that the big restart for both of our league sides begins next week. United have a busy and high-profile start. The first game back, of course, after the COVID-19 halting proceedings against Aston Villa at Villa Park. Millions watching and ready for it as well around the world. They had a behind-closed-doors friendly last week, just to mark your card. You might not be aware of this, against Huddersfield, matches against Barnsley and Hull as well prior. I think between now and then, before that game against Villa next week, they're free to air on TV as well, which I think is really important, on Sky Sports Main Event and also Sky Sports Pick as well. I think a lot of people will get those channels on their boxes. Wednesday, Sunday it is for the Blades. That's quite a busy start. Meanwhile, talking of Wednesday, they take on Forest on the Saturday. They're on the telly against Bristol City the following day, for their following match as well. Gary Monk expressing some concerns, though, about travel protocol in the EFL. But all being well, that is their plan. Nottingham Forest next Saturday. Non-league, not much to update, of course, after their season was curtailed. But I also want to just acknowledge what all of us have said, actually, and just say a massive congratulations to Paul Warne and all at Rotherham United. Strange circumstances to get promoted in, of course. Their season ended, but it's no less of an achievement, and I'm sure that Paul will see it that way as well. So he's done his job there. Another season in the Championship beckons for Rotherham United. Big congratulations to all at the New York Stadium. Now, cricket. Now, we know that is going to return in the first week of July. The West Indies have arrived, and they will be taking on England, and we'll see, won't we? It might be a strange kind of setup in the matches, in those test matches, with all the different rule changes and whatever. But, such is the way. Meanwhile, locally, Sheffield Collegiate Cricket Club, they've been given a Sport England grant. That's to cover their losses and expenses. Very welcome, I'm sure, as well, because they've got a lot of upkeep of the ground. They've got a massive facility. They were actually allocated some Yorkshire outground matches as well, meant to be taking place this summer. So hopefully they'll carry on to next season as well. And at the moment, you can be netting in groups of 6, if you are a member at Abbeydale. And that's more than most professional sides. A lot of the county sides can't even be netting at the moment. So that's interesting. And also, just to mark your card as well, on this one, something you may have missed, of course, snooker was the first major sport to return here in the UK. A local success for Rotherham rookie Ashley Carty, who stunned former world champions Neil Robertson and Ken Doherty to secure a semi-final spot in the Matchroom Live Championship League. By the time this goes out, hopefully he'll be in the final.
Oh, well done, Ashley. Our congratulations, regardless of that result. It's run from you. And thank you, James. So you're surrounded with great presenters there, Gordon Watson. You've joined our ranks. You probably think you're the best of the lot. But how are we doing so far?
Yeah, you're doing great. You're doing great. I'm enjoying it, thanks.
All right, as we all are enjoying having you on the show. And just to close it, we can't go without some of those I say far, it don't seem far off really to some of us. I'm sure not for you. The 4 years at Hillsborough. The only mistake you made, Gordon, is you joined a club that had a few quite decent strikers.
Yeah, but I was only 19, so it was probably the best thing for me, Al, because obviously I was going to get to learn my trade. I mean, listen, this is pain for Sheffield Wednesday fans to keep going back to this era, but it's probably the best era in their history. And I was so fortunate enough to be, I enjoyed everything about it. I mean, listen, we had Wembley appearances. We finished 3rd in the top division. We went on the European campaign. Everyone in the world wanted us. We went to Japan to promote Sheffield Wednesday, South Africa. We went to America. I played with international footballers who were great players, and we had an unbelievable spine throughout the football club. Again, you look at it from Dave Richardson down to, Dot, who used to do the tees. So listen, everyone was together. Everyone got what they deserved, and the city just came alive. United were at the Premier League side. We were talking about the Steelers. We were talking about the ice hockey, Ponds Forge. We had the snooker. For me, it was probably one of the best places in the world from 91 to 95.
Yeah, great days. And of course, Sheffield United were in the Premier League at the time, same time as you. And there were some wonderful derby occasions. And exactly. they weren't there? And they were pretty evenly shared as well, not one-sided at all.
No, but they're never going to be one-sided because it's so competitive.
Yeah,
I know no other city in the world where you could walk down the street and you will see blue and white, red and white, red and white, blue and white. It is so evenly. I mean, you don't get many Liverpool or Man United or Chelsea shirts.
No.
One or the other.
Wonderful days. And this has been a wonderful hour that we've spent together. Thank you so much. My thanks as ever to James Gregg, to James Mason. And James, are hoping that you and all the Yorkshire tourist businesses are close now to weathering the storm, and that you can come surging back, as I'm sure that you will. You say you enjoy a challenge. Well, you'll never get a bigger one than this. Very best of luck to you. And Gordon Watson, thanks so much for joining us from Costa Rica, and keep as busy as you obviously are out there. Thanks very much, guys. Thank you to you at home for wherever you're watching, and we'll hope to cobble together another sort of Zoom show next week. See you then. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.